On a cold, rainy night, Mark stood trembling outside the dimly lit cafe, the words he just overheard echoing painfully in his mind. His wife, Clara, the woman he trusted more than anyone, was tangled in an affair he never suspected. The rain blurred the neon lights around him, as memories of their years together crashed down like the storm. How could she betray me? He wondered aloud, his voice breaking. Unbeknownst to Mark, this devastating moment was only the beginning. Secrets from Clara's past, long buried and hidden, were about to surface, threatening to unravel everything they had built. As the cafe's door swung open, he glimpsed Clara inside, laughing, unaware of the storm about to engulf them both. Mark returned home in a daze, the storm outside mirroring the turmoil inside him. He sat in the dark living room, replaying every moment, every glance, every laugh Clara had shared with the stranger. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt cold and foreign. His hands trembled as he dialed her number, hoping for answers, but fearing the truth. Clara's voice, calm yet distant, offered no comfort. "Mark, we need to talk," she said. The weight of those words crushed him, knowing their marriage was on the precipice of collapse. Yet, beneath the pain, a desperate need to uncover the truth burned fiercely within him. Clara stood by the kitchen window, staring blankly into the rain-soaked garden. Her mind raced with memories she had long buried, secrets that she never dared to reveal. The affair was just a symptom, a crack in the facade that hid a far deeper story. Mark's call had shaken her, forcing the past to claw its way to the surface. She clenched her fists, feeling torn between confession and protection. The woman she had become was a puzzle of lies, regrets, and survival. As thunder rolled overhead, Clara whispered, "I wish I could tell you everything." But some truths, she feared, might destroy them both. Mark's mind spiraled as he sifted through Clara's belongings, searching for clues. A hidden letter slipped from a book, its words both cryptic and revealing. The letter spoke of a past relationship, danger, and a secret identity. Questions burned in Mark's eyes. Who was Clara before him? What had she hidden so well? The room seemed to close in, the shadows deepening around him as he realized the affair was just the surface of a deeper mystery. Each revelation tightened the noose of uncertainty, forcing him to confront a past he never imagined existed. That night, Mark confronted Clara in their bedroom, the air thick with tension and unspoken fears. "Why didn't you tell me?" he demanded, voice cracking with pain. Clara's eyes brimmed with tears, her walls crumbling. "I was scared," she whispered, "of losing you and the life we built." But the truth was more complicated, a tangled web of past mistakes and survival. Their love, once pure, now stood at a crossroads between forgiveness and devastation. As dawn crept through the curtains, they faced the fragile hope of reconciliation, or the harsh reality of separation. Jason's world had crumbled, but beneath the rubble, a flicker of resolve began to glow. He was no longer just a man broken by betrayal. He was a man seeking understanding. Memories of Emily's laughter, her kindness, and the dreams they once shared clashed with the harsh reality. He asked himself, who was she really? His heart ached with confusion and a desperate hope to find the truth hidden behind the betrayal. Jason realized he needed to confront his feelings, pain, love, anger, all tangled in a fragile web. This emotional storm became the anchor for his journey forward, driving him to uncover answers that could either heal or destroy him completely. In the quiet of the early morning, Jason sat at the kitchen table, clutching a steaming cup of coffee like a lifeline. His gaze drifted to the worn photograph on the counter, Emily smiling, unaware of the secrets she hid. He reflected on his own flaws, his trust, his blind devotion, the moments he ignored warning signs. But amidst the pain, he found a flicker of hope, a yearning for closure and peace. Maybe understanding isn't forgiveness, he thought, but it's the first step. The emotional anchor tightened as he vowed to face the tangled mess of love and betrayal, hoping to reclaim a part of himself lost in the chaos. Jason's phone buzzed unexpectedly, breaking the heavy silence. It was a message from an unknown number. "You don't know the whole story." His hands trembled as he read and reread the cryptic words. Questions flooded his mind. Who was this? What did they know? Was this the key to the truth, or just another cruel twist? The message ignited a spark of determination mixed with caution. He knew the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but the emotional anchor he had found grounded him. With a deep breath, he typed a cautious reply, stepping deeper into a world where trust was fragile and betrayal lurked in shadows. Later that day, Jason met with an old friend, Mark, at a quiet cafe tucked away from the bustling city. Mark's steady gaze and calm demeanor offered a small island of stability in Jason's turbulent sea. "You're not alone in this," Mark said softly, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Their conversation peeled back layers of pain and confusion, revealing truths Jason had buried deep inside. It was a moment of emotional reckoning, acceptance of vulnerability, and a rekindling of hope. Through shared stories and raw honesty, Jason found a renewed strength to face the coming storm. That evening, Jason stood alone on a rooftop overlooking the city lights, the cool breeze brushing against his face. The sprawling urban landscape shimmered like a mosaic of endless possibilities and hidden secrets. He whispered to himself, "I thought I knew her, but I was wrong." The emotional anchor held firm, steadying him against the storm raging within. In this quiet moment of reflection, he allowed himself a fragile hope that through pain and betrayal, he might find clarity, healing, and perhaps a way to forgive, not Emily, but himself. The night embraced him, holding both sorrow and the faint promise of redemption. Mark studied the photographs and letters, each one peeling back layers of Clara's hidden life. He saw images of a younger Clara with unfamiliar faces, moments of joy and fear intertwined. One letter hinted at a betrayal that shattered her family, while another spoke of a promise to protect someone important. As he pieced the fragments together, Mark realized that Clara's past was not just about survival, but sacrifice. The weight of what she endured pressed down on him, making him question everything he thought he knew about love, trust, and forgiveness. The man who once saw betrayal now saw a woman fighting against shadows far darker than he had imagined. Determined to uncover the truth, Mark reached out to one of the people in the photos, a childhood friend of Clara's named Sarah. Meeting in a quiet cafe, Sarah's guarded demeanor slowly gave way to sorrow as she recounted their shared past. She spoke of threats, disappearances, and the painful choice Clara made to leave everything behind. Sarah's voice trembled as she warned Mark that the danger was not entirely gone. The past had a way of catching up, and those who had hurt Clara before were still watching. Mark listened intently, the realization sinking in that their future depended on confronting the ghosts from long ago. Sarah handed Mark a small worn diary Clara had once entrusted to her, saying, "This holds the truth you need." Flipping through its pages, Mark found detailed accounts of fear, love, and survival. Entries that painted a portrait of a young woman desperate to break free from a dangerous past. Clara's words spoke of a powerful enemy, one who would stop at nothing to silence her. Mark's grip tightened on the diary as a new fear crept in, not just for their marriage, but for their very lives. Stakes had risen, and Mark knew that uncovering Clara's secrets meant walking into a storm that could consume them both. That evening, Mark and Clara sat in tense silence, the diary resting between them on the kitchen table. Clara's eyes welled with tears as Mark read aloud passages that revealed her fears and hopes. For the first time, Clara shared the full story, the betrayal that forced her to flee, the promises she made, and the life she had tried to build in hiding. Mark reached out, his voice steady. "We face this together no matter what." The fragile bridge of trust between them began to strengthen, but outside, the shadows of the past stirred, threatening to shatter the fragile peace they had found. In the following days, Mark began noticing strange occurrences: unfamiliar cars parked near their home, fleeting shadows outside windows, and silent phone calls with no voice on the other end. His protective instincts flared, and he vowed to keep Clara safe. He started researching the enemies named in the diary, realizing the danger was far more immediate than they had imagined. Clara, too, grew cautious, revisiting old contacts and preparing for what might come. Their marriage, once fractured by betrayal, now stood united against a common threat, one that would test their strength, courage, and love like never before. As dawn broke, Mark and Clara agreed to seek outside help, realizing they couldn't face the growing threat alone. They reached out to an old family friend, Daniel, a former detective known for his discretion and expertise. Meeting in a quiet cafe, Daniel listened intently as Mark recounted the discoveries and dangers. He warned them that the enemies Clara fled from were ruthless and likely tracking every move. Daniel promised protection and investigation but urged caution. This won't be easy, and some truths could shatter more than just your past. Mark and Clara left the meeting feeling a fragile hope that they might finally uncover the full truth before it was too late. With Daniel's help, Mark and Clara began retracing her steps from years ago. They visited a small, forgotten town where Clara had lived in hiding, a place layered with silence and shadows. The townsfolk were wary, eyes flickering with suspicion as whispers of old secrets lingered in the air. Clara felt the weight of memories long suppressed as she walked the familiar streets. Daniel uncovered clues hinting at a betrayal closer to home than anyone suspected. The walls seemed to close in, reminding them that the past wasn't just a distant memory. It was alive, breathing, and waiting to strike again. Late one evening, Clara received an anonymous phone call that froze her blood, a chilling reminder that her pursuers were never far. The voice warned her to stop digging or face dire consequences. Fear surged through her, but so did determination. Mark vowed not to let threats silence them. They agreed to increase their security and continue their investigation under Daniel's guidance. The tension tightened, but their bond strengthened in the face of danger. Each step forward brought new revelations and deeper risks, turning their search for truth into a desperate race against time and shadowed enemies lurking just beyond reach. The investigation uncovered a shocking betrayal. Someone close to Clara had sold her secrets to dangerous figures from her past. The revelation cut deep, unraveling the fragile trust they had rebuilt. Mark confronted Clara with the news, anger and pain mixing in his voice. Clara's face crumpled with guilt and sorrow, admitting she never imagined the past would betray her again. Their home, once a sanctuary, now felt like a battleground. Yet amid the turmoil, they clung to one another, knowing that to survive, they had to face the betrayal, and each other, head on. Determined not to be defeated, Mark and Clara devised a plan to expose those threatening their lives. They gathered evidence and prepared to confront the betrayal head on, knowing the risk involved. Late into the night, they rehearsed their story, their emotions tangled but resolve unshaken. This moment marked a turning point, from victims to fighters. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it united. As the first light of dawn crept into their bedroom, they shared a quiet, determined glance, ready for the battle to come, ready to reclaim their lives and their love. Mark and Clara arranged a clandestine meeting with a trusted journalist known for exposing corruption and dangerous secrets. The atmosphere was thick with tension as they handed over the carefully gathered evidence, documents, photos, and recordings that could bring the truth to light. The journalist warned them of the risks, explaining how powerful people would stop at nothing to keep their secrets buried. Yet, Mark and Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was their chance to reclaim their narrative and hold their enemies accountable. As the meeting ended, they knew the fight was far from over, but for the first time, the world might finally hear their story. News of the impending exposé began to ripple through the underworld, sending shockwaves among those who feared exposure. Mark noticed unfamiliar faces lurking near their home, their gazes cold and calculating. Clara's anxiety deepened as past enemies seemed to close in, their threats growing bolder. Yet, amid the growing danger, Mark stood unwavering. He reassured Clara, "We won't let them silence us." Together they fortified their home and tightened their circle of trust. Every day became a battle of wills, a test of courage and resilience. The past had returned with a vengeance, but Mark and Clara were ready to face it head on. In the quiet moments between chaos, Mark and Clara sought solace in each other. They revisited old memories and dreams, trying to rebuild the intimacy fractured by secrets and fear. Their conversations were raw and honest, filled with moments of vulnerability and hope. Clara admitted, "I never thought we'd survive this." Mark responded, "We have to, for us and for the truth." Their bond, tested by betrayal and danger, began to heal through trust and shared determination. Though the road ahead was uncertain, they found strength in the fragile light of love, rekindled amidst the storm. The night before the exposé's release, tension reached its peak. Mark and Clara fortified their home and prepared for potential retaliation. As they checked locks and security cameras, Clara's hands trembled, but her eyes shone with resolve. Mark reassured her, "We've come this far. No turning back now." They shared a quiet moment of solidarity before the storm. The truth was poised to shatter lies and expose dangerous secrets, but the cost was unknown. As the clock ticked closer to dawn, they braced for the consequences of their courage and the uncertain path ahead. The exposé went live early that morning, sending shockwaves through the media and beyond. Stories of betrayal, secrets, and danger flooded headlines. Mark and Clara watched the news coverage, their hearts pounding. Support poured in from unexpected places, but so did threats. The enemies they faced were cornered and dangerous. Yet, for the first time, their truth was public, their voices heard. Mark took Clara's hand, whispering, "We did it. Together." The road ahead remained fraught with peril, but they faced it with a newfound strength born of truth, love, and unbreakable resolve. In the wake of the exposé, the pressure on Mark and Clara intensified. Their lives became a whirlwind of media attention, police inquiries, and mounting threats. Yet amid the chaos, they found moments of quiet strength together. One evening, Mark said softly, "We've exposed the truth, but the fight isn't over." Clara nodded, tears of exhaustion and hope mingling. They realized the battle for safety and justice was just beginning. But together, they were no longer victims, they were survivors. Their courage inspired others, turning personal pain into a beacon of resilience and truth. Authorities finally moved in, arresting several key figures linked to Clara's past and the threats against them. Mark and Clara watched the news with cautious relief, knowing justice was being served but also that scars remain. "It's not over," Clara whispered. "But at least we're free to live again." Their home began to feel like a sanctuary once more. Yet the emotional toll lingered, trust was fragile, and healing would take time. Mark vowed to stand by Clara every step, building a future grounded in truth, love, and forgiveness. Mark and Clara sought counseling to rebuild their relationship and confront the trauma of betrayal and fear. In quiet therapy sessions, they unpacked years of secrets, pain, and hopes for the future. "We lost so much," Clara admitted, voice trembling. "But maybe we can find ourselves again." Mark reached for her hand. "Together, we will." Slowly, they began to rediscover trust and intimacy, rebuilding the fragile foundation of their love. Their journey was far from over, but every step forward was a victory against the darkness that once consumed them. Outside, life gradually returned to a quieter rhythm. Mark resumed work with renewed focus, while Clara pursued new passions, determined to reclaim her identity beyond the shadows of her past. They took small trips, revisited favorite places, and embraced the simple joys that once felt distant. One evening, under a starlit sky, Clara whispered, "We survived the storm." Mark smiled, "And now we build something stronger." Their story, once defined by betrayal and fear, was transforming into one of resilience, love, and new beginnings. Yet, as peace settled in, a new letter arrived, an unmarked envelope containing a simple note. "This isn't over." Mark and Clara exchanged a glance, the past's shadow still lurking at the edges of their new life. But this time they faced it with courage forged in fire. "Whatever comes," Mark said firmly, "we face it as one." Clara nodded, resolve shining in her eyes. Their journey was far from finished, but their bond was unbreakable. Together they stood ready, not just to survive but to live fully, with love and truth as their shield. The arrival of the unmarked letter had rattled Mark and Clara, but it no longer invoked the paralyzing fear it once would have. Instead, it sparked a fierce resolve in both of them. No longer would they be passive victims to the shadows of the past. They transformed their home into a sanctuary of vigilance, installing cameras, securing every entrance, and meticulously documenting every suspicious call or visitor. Clara's voice, once quiet and fearful, had grown bold and resolute as she began sharing her story publicly. Through community talks and online forums, she spoke candidly about survival, betrayal, and the courage to reclaim one's life. Mark sat beside her, amazed and proud of the woman she had become. Strong, unyielding, and radiant. "We were broken, yes," Mark said softly one evening, "but now we're more than whole. We are warriors of our own story." It was a chilly late afternoon when an unexpected figure appeared. Jacob, a rugged man from Clara's shadowed past, once an adversary but now a tentative ally. His arrival was marked by tension and uncertainty. Trust after years of betrayal was a fragile commodity. Over strong coffee on the outdoor cafe's patio, Jacob shared vital intelligence, a key piece that could dismantle the last dangerous threads still entangling Clara's life. Mark listened intently as Jacob described a betrayal that came from within their closest circle. A betrayal cloaked in deceit and greed. Clara's heart raced as old wounds surfaced, but beneath her apprehension lay a cautious hope. Sometimes, Mark reflected afterward, survival means embracing unlikely alliances, trusting even when the stakes are highest. This uneasy partnership was their best chance to finally close the chapter on their past. Armed with Jacob's revelation, Mark and Clara prepared for the most painful confrontation yet. The person they once trusted most had betrayed them, leaking secrets and endangering lives. The meeting was a maelstrom of raw emotions, anger, sorrow, disbelief, filling the cramped room where old wounds reopened like fresh scars. Clara's voice, though trembling, held strength as she confronted the betrayal, refusing to let bitterness consume her. Forgiveness was not immediate but a hard-won choice, one Clara embraced as a means to reclaim her power and peace. Mark stood steadfast, offering unwavering support, knowing this confrontation was the final crucible to dismantle the fear and mistrust that had shadowed their lives. Together, they tore down the last barriers, stepping into the light of truth and unbreakable love. Months passed, and the scars began to heal as Mark and Clara stood before a gathered community, sharing their story in a local hall filled with friends, family, and strangers alike. The atmosphere was thick with emotion as Clara's voice wavered, then steadied, telling of betrayal, survival, and the transformative power of truth. Mark spoke beside her, recounting their journey from devastation to resilience. Tears glistened, smiles blossomed, and applause filled the room, not just for their survival, but for the courage to reclaim their narrative. "Our past tried to break us," Clara said softly, "but instead, it made us stronger than we ever imagined." This moment was not just an end, but a powerful beginning, a testament to the human spirit's ability to rise and rebuild. As twilight settled, Mark and Clara wandered along a deserted beach, the ocean's rhythmic whisper a balm to their weary souls. The horizon stretched endlessly, a symbol of infinite possibilities and the vast unwritten future ahead. Clara's voice was soft yet filled with certainty as she whispered, "This is our story now, not one defined by shadows and secrets, but by survival, love, and hope." Mark squeezed her hand, eyes shining in the fading light. "Whatever comes next, we face it together, stronger, wiser, unbreakable." The breeze carried their whispered promises, a sacred vow forged in fire and sealed by the steady beat of their hearts. Their journey was long, painful, and uncertain, but now it was theirs to write anew, full of light and limitless hope.